Hi everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. This is Kathy, and today I'll be creating a trifold card and I'll be doing some watercoloring using distress inks. The stamp set I'm using is from Inky Antics and it's called Planting Chickpea Bear. So let's get moving on with the card here. This card is actually being created for my stamp club, and the theme for the month of June is a 3-panel card or a trifold card, or also known as a triptych card. So I started out with a piece of Canson watercolor cardstock that measures 5.5 by 12, and then I scored at 4 inches and 8 inches on the 12-inch side to create the 3 panels. Now when I did the stamping, because I'm going to be doing watercoloring with distress ink, I decided to use VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I did use the stamp positioner to make sure that I got a really good impression because watercolor cardstock is textured, so sometimes you have to stamp it more than once. And I did have to really think about where I was stamping the images because it is a trifold card. That is why you'll see I'll have it turned upside down. And then to do the third panel, which is actually the inside of the card, I did fold back the front panel, and I also stamped the inside upside down as well. And I noticed after I had stamped the inside that the first sentiment was completely crooked, but I'm not going to start over. I'm going to keep going, and I figured that I would be able to fix that way at the end, which I do, and you'll see that at the end of the video. Anyway, about watercoloring. I will admit it is definitely not a strength of mine, but because we needed to do a trifold card for my stamp club, and the only cardstock that I had long enough to do a trifold card was watercolor cardstock, I thought, well, I guess I'm going to be doing some watercoloring. So when I started out with watercoloring, I started out with the antique linen, and I did a quick coat of that color all over the bear. And I should note here that the cardstock is dry. I'm only using a wet paintbrush. I wanted to try and have a little bit more control of how much color I was putting down while I was doing the watercoloring, because I know that I can always go and add darker colors in or add a little bit more water to lighten it if I need to. And with that being said, I have a lot of the watercoloring sped up quite a bit. I will be sure to list all of the colors that I use down below as well as over on my blog. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and play some music for you while I finish up the coloring. Now, to fix the sentiment that was stamped so crooked, I knew the only way to do that was to actually cover it up. So I decided to get a piece of patterned paper and cut a frame out of the center of that patterned paper. And to make sure that I had it lined up right, I put the die over the bear and put some temporary tape, or wait, what did I use? I used Scotch removable tape, and I put that on the die so that when I placed the patterned paper on top of it, the die would stick to the paper. I ran that through my die cut machine and noticed that the die shifted a little bit while running through, so my rectangle was crooked. So the next thing that I did was I just created a frame out of white cardstock using 2 more rectangle dies. And that covered up not only the crooked sentiment, but also the crooked rectangle from the patterned paper. Before I adhered that down, I decided that I needed to ground my images a little bit, so I took a W1 Copic marker as well as a W0 Copic marker, and I just did really quick swipes because I didn't want it to soak through the cardstock so that it could be seen on the other side. To finish up the card, all I did was adhere down the striped patterned paper over my little bear, and I used liquid glue for the white frame to cover up the crooked rectangle, and that finishes up my card for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, I'd love it if you would. And don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.